Hi Alex, how are you?
I'm good, Juan. How are you?
Great, really excited. I've been a fan since I was a kid, so
Oh,
it's
nice. That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah. So yes, let's get this going. I was listening, of course, to the single Audacious,
Mm,
and there's this like whole image of a needle, a thread, the seaming, the stitches, the
mm.
fabric of existence, sort of describing life like as a giant and complex cloth or fabric. So why do you chose this image for this song, and how this image of like uh, yes came to be, and how does it relate to the song's topic?
It's funny, this metaphor is used in two songs. It's also in another song on the record called Tell Me I Should Stay. And in that song, I sing about this son of a tailor. And that's me singing about my mother because my mother was a tailor. My mother was a seamstress, and I grew up. My mother showed me how to sew as well, and I enjoy sewing and I enjoy clothes, and I would always buy my clothes secondhand that didn't fit me, and I would get the sewing machine out and I would take them and make them fit me. And I think if I hadn't had a career in music, I might have gone into a career in clothes design or clothes manufacture. Like I textiles and fabric, like I find fascinating. And I think there's it's a much more abstract form of expression in a way, like
Mhm.
as artistic expression to kind of go into that world. And I guess when as a writer, when you're looking for metaphors, you talk about you use imagery which means something to you, and fabric. When I talk about fabric and the structure of fabric, it means something to me because I understand it because I can sew because my mum showed me how to sew. That's it.
Yeah, great. And in that same topic, because of course the song, well, how I understood the song is about like not giving up on life, and just keep forward, I guess. So as a band, as a rock band, as a project, I think part of the success is not giving up, but it's also one of the most difficult things. How do you find creative motivation, or even personal or professional motivation, and just keep going with the project?
I totally agree with you. And I think it's not just for a band, but for any kind of artist, really. And
Yeah.
I think the great artists are the ones that not just have great ideas, but have the perseverance to see those ideas through despite difficulties and obstacles that they will come through their life. And those obstacles will be external and personal. And like it could be self-doubt or it could be a pandemic, like it could be like
Yeah.
falling out with your friends, it could be having no money, it could be the feeling that nobody in the world wants to appreciate what it is you're making. Or it could be that somebody nicked your gear, like there are so many obstacles that you come across. And I think you need a degree of audaciousness as an artist. I think all artists have audaciousness, just to believe that this thing that you're making should go into the world is a really audacious thing to do. Like and I love that. I love that when I see that in other artists, when I see it in other musicians, it's like, oh, that's great. You did this bizarre, eccentric thing. You had this idea and
Yeah.
you decided that you should put it into the world. That's great. Like I respect that. And it's what I would expect from the artists that I love. So it's what I expect from myself as well. And it also means you're a bit of a weirdo because like most people are not like that. When something's difficult, they give up for good reason because if they don't, their life becomes really difficult, you know.
Yeah.
And but maybe that's just maybe I'm just a perverse weirdo. Like I like it when life gets a bit difficult.
Yeah, sure. Um, well, t talking about precisely like new artists and so the last couple of years have been really great for like new UK bands and UK like scene. I'm sorry, I'm not that familiar with the Irish bands, recent bands, but
Oh yeah,
uh,
yeah,
like in there's Fontaines DC, Wonder Horse. In
yeah.
England, there's Black Country New Road, Black Midi. Uh, so my question is, are you familiar with this new scene? How do you um, feel about this like younger scene and bands? And also, a lot of these bands, their lyrics talk about like feeling very proud of their countries and of their cities and of their place of birth. So do you think it's important to highlight where you come from?
Oh gosh. I think it's really good to be unself-conscious about where you come from and to accept it and to embrace it. I don't think you have to sort of like necessarily say that it makes you better than anybody else. But like for example, we're from Glasgow. Even though not all of the band originates from Glasgow in Scotland, because we're from Glasgow, it certainly had an impact on how we formed as a band and probably our personality as a band. And so it's good to acknowledge that. But I never really liked that thing of sort of like, sometimes I'd see it with bands from Manchester. We thought like, oh, we're better than anybody else because we're from Manchester. And I don't think that's true. You just happen to be from Manchester. That's all. And I think it's maybe a different attitude with Glasgow because Glasgow bands have a similar attitude, but they tend not to sound like each other. Like we sound very different from Bell and Sebastian, who sound very different from Mogwai,
Yeah.
who sound very different from Teenage Fan Club or Texas or whatever, or Orange Juice. And uh, I'm always interested to see where a band comes from, but I don't necessarily think I'm going to love a band because they're from a particular place.
Yeah.
I'm curious, I'm always curious to see like where they're from and why. And there are some great bands kicking about at the moment. You were talking about Irish bands. There's another great band from Ireland called Sprints, Sprints. They're great. You should check them out. Uh, One of my favorite bands at the moment is well, as an artist, a solo artist. He's from Glasgow. I knew him in Glasgow years ago, but he's now in Baltimore, and he's called Herald. His stuff's really good. But my favorite band at the moment are from Holland, and they're called Lewisburg, Lewsberg. And they're like, if you imagine what the Velvet Underground were like if they were a wee bit cooler.
Okay, great. Thank you. Talking about where artists are from, you've been very vocal and very outspoken about Latin American music. You are a fan of Latin American
Sure,
music.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, the last time you went uh, to Bogota, uh, you bought a bunch of vinyl records. There was
I
a pic,
did, yeah.
yeah, there was a picture of you. I don't know if you know this, but there was a picture of you that went kind of viral on Twitter of you
Oh,
getting out.
really? No.
Yeah, yeah. With the records on Cosmos shop.
Yes, Cosmos above the shoe shop. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and
so I never knew that. That's crazy. Like
yeah.
this record shop's amazing. Like that's what's what a cool record shop. I absolutely loved it. I did like I had to pay excess on my suitcase when I flew back because I bought so many records because it was so heavy. I think I spent something like 4.5 hours in that record shop just going through and getting 45s and I got so many records and those records kept me sane during the moments of the pandemic. In fact, I think there's when I first caught COVID and I was confined to the house by myself. I'll listen to so many of those records, and there's a clip of me on my Instagram somewhere dancing to one of those 45s that I got in Cosmos. Like that's crazy. And so
Great.
yeah, of course, when I go back to Bogota, I'll be back in the record shops, you know, like because a lot of those records are very difficult to find in the UK or France, where I am
Yeah.
now. You know, like I think they're probably very common for you guys and probably very familiar and maybe seem ordinary, but like to me, they seem extremely powerful and exotic, and I love them. I also it was also in that record shop that I learned the word éxito, because.
Like success?
Yeah, it's because it's written. I think it means hit as well
Ah,
because
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
because like often I'd pick up an old 45 and somebody had written on it Éxito. You'd like or you'd get an album and somebody had like underlined a track and written and this I kept on seeing this word Éxito and I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like I love that. Like I like Éxitos. Like maybe I maybe my next album I'm gonna call it Éxito with an exclamation
Oof.
mark.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'm gonna remember that actually. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the moment where I had that idea.
Yeah. Okay, I think closing things up. What can we expect on the new record on the Human Fear? When does it come out? We only know one single. Is there
Oh, right.
any other
Oh, you've not heard
single?
the other songs yet? Oh, right.
No, no, no.
Yeah. There's going to be, I mean, I think every song on the album could have been a single, really. Like, I think after doing the greatest hits record, I kind of wanted to do like a greatest hits album. Like, I wanted to do an album where every song could be like a single. And it sort of kind of feels a little bit like that. I think the next single is going to be Night or Day, and Hooked is probably going to be a single as well. Well, it better be because I just made a video for it. Like, and it's going to come out in January. But if you're really curious about the songs, like come and see us live. When we were in Mexico, we played 7 of the songs live, and
Oh,
they went down really well. And I think that was a test of the song because basically we were playing these songs with the greatest hits, and all of them sounded like they belong there. So. Yeah, that's what it feels like. Greatest Hits Volume 2. That's what we're working on.
great. I don't know if we had any more time. Felipe, ¿me está escuchando?
Yes, we have only 1 minute. So if you want to
Ask a quick question and I'll answer it.
question.
A quick question. So the last time you played in Bogota, we were like on a national strike,
Ah,
and you closed, of course, with this fire. And
yeah.
for us, it was like a very a nice coincidence because it was like very cathartic moment. Like, okay, we are on a a weird place politically, and this song meant for us a lot. So uh, was there another moment in Franz Ferdinand's career that a song was used like in a context that you never expected?
Gosh, yes. I know that like some of our songs are used in sporting events, and that's really weird for me because I'm one of the least sporty people you could ever meet. But I remember one time playing in Italy, and we were playing a song called 40 Feet from our first album,
Yeah.
and sometimes during songs I'll sort of like improvise other melodies. I'll bring them in, and I started singing while playing a little bit of Bella Ciao, which is like an old partisan
Italian.
song,
Yeah.
and the whole audience started singing it, and it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard in my life. And it happened on the last tour as well. We did it in Italy as well. We did it near Verona, no, Venice, near that sort of area, and again, no, Florencia, and again, the audience sang it, and yeah, I love that song. So that's not a Franz Ferdinand song, but we played it and the audience sang it. It was very powerful.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for your time.
Yeah,
I
thank
hope
you,
to.
Juan. Thank you for coming up with a good question under pressure as well.
Yeah, sure, of course. I hope you buy a lot of more Cumbia vinyls here
I
in
certainly
Bogota.
will. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no, no, no fear about that.
Great.
Nice one.
Eh,
Cheers, man. All the best, man.
cheers,
Thanks.
cheers, cheers. Gracias, Feli. Chao, chao.
Thank you.